Einen wunderschönen guten Morgen, sehr geehrte Frau Vizerektorin, Herr Vizerektor, Herr Dekan, Frau Mourão Permoser, liebe Kolleginnen und Kollegen hier an der Universität und im digitalen Raum. Als Beitrag zur Multilingualität werde ich kurz Deutsch sprechen und darf Sie herzlich zu dieser Antrittsvorlesung begrüßen. Antrittsvorlesungen sind für Universitäten immer ein Festtag, weil wir damit neue Professorinnen, Professoren der universitären Öffentlichkeit und darüber hinaus vorstellen. Und dieser heutige Tag ist für uns auch deshalb so besonders, weil wir im Department für Migration und Globalisierung unter der jetzt schon mehrjährigen Leitung von Professor Czaika es geschafft haben, uns hier einen sehr großen, starken, sichtbaren Schwerpunkt in Forschung und Lehre aufzubauen. Und die Berufung von Kollegin Mourão Permoser ist ein weiterer sichtbarer Beleg dafür, was uns hier gelungen ist, dass es uns gelingt, auch starke Persönlichkeiten anzuziehen, um mit uns gemeinsam diesen Forschungsschwerpunkt auch weiter zu entwickeln. Und damit bin ich schon am Ende und bedanke mich herzlich für Ihr Interesse und bitte nun Dekan Steiner, die neue Professorin vorzustellen. Lieber Gerald, the floor is yours.
This is a great event to welcome Professor Mourão Permoser. And I would like to build a kind of a triangle with respect to research, with respect to teaching, but also with respect to international developments and international events that kind of characterize the story and the journey of Professor Permoser. So, with respect to research orientations, I think it's important to say that the topics that you bring in kind of extend what we already have, but go beyond what we already have. And as mentioned before, the Department for Migration and Globalization is here the home basis for what you are doing right now and what you will do in the future. And the whole department is part of the Faculty of Business and Globalization. So we see here that globalization, internationalization is a core issue with respect to teaching, with respect to research activities. Focus areas, and there are so many. So I think we should stress a little bit on two key issues that are kind of outstanding. One is societal political polarization in respect to migration. The other one is ethical dilemmas for migration policy. And beyond that, we have other issues and topics, such as, and please allow me to mention some of them, human rights, citizenship, democracy, inclusion and exclusion, equality, identity and belonging, anti-discrimination, and so on. So all that is part of your research profile, but also part of your teaching profile. And so the journey, and particularly the academic journey, did not start where Professor Permoser was born. She was born in Rio de Janeiro. But the academic journey actually started in Austria, so with the PhD at the University of Vienna. There, Mrs. Permoser also had a professorship in Austrian politics in the European context. Further on, you went to University of Innsbruck, also as a senior researcher. Other issues, just in very short, you were also, I think, part of a ERC starting grant, also part of a WWTF grant. So important issues along a scientific and a research journey. But, and I love that very much, there are also important awards. And I think a little bit more than a decade ago, you got a beautiful award for something that is strongly related also to Austria. It's the book Living Rooms, Politik der Zugehörigkeit im Wiener Gemeindebau. Beautiful. You were co-editor, you were co-author, and actually you got several awards for that. So, das schönste Buch Österreichs. Beautiful. European Design Awards, German Design Awards, Josef Binder Award, and all that. So, congratulations, and we are so happy to have you here, and I'm so much looking forward having your lecture here. So welcome, and and the floor is yours.
This is a very special moment for me, a kind of culmination and celebration of my academic path so far. And it's also an opportunity for me to present myself as a scholar, to explain my drives and what motivates me to pursue the intellectual aims that I do. Therefore, before I jump into the scientific presentation, I would like to ask for your patience a little bit more. I want to say a few words, a few personal words, telling the story of how I came to stand here today. My story is a story of migration. If I were to choose a starting point for my academic career, it would be the moment in which I departed from Brazil, the country where I was born and raised, the country of my family and of my heart, to go study in the United States, Georgetown University it was. I was 17 years old, fresh and frech, as we would say in German, full of ideas and of ideals, and eager to get to know the world. But what I had no idea of is that now, 27 years later, I would be a professor of migration and integration in Austria, and in Krems, of all places. A beautiful town on the banks of the river Danube, which at the time, my fault, I didn't even know existed. Life takes you places that you would never have imagined. But there's also a way in which life follows a kind of imaginary red thread. A thread that, like Penelope in the Odyssey, we weave and unweave ourselves, day and night, masters of our own desire, of our own destiny, as we all ultimately are. I have entitled this talk, Towards a Political Sociology of Migration Ethics. What do I mean by that? What is or can be a political sociology of migration ethics? In a nutshell, this is a research framework that places societal conflicts over migration at the center of the analysis, and that seeks to unveil the normative underpinnings of these conflicts, investigate the form that they take, and assess the ethical and political implications of these conflicts for democracy. So I believe that migration is a topic which actually cannot be investigated from the perspective of one single discipline, because it touches upon so many different aspects of our lives. Yeah. Therefore, the migration topic is in and of itself one that is conducive to interdisciplinary research. And in my research, I seek both to draw methods and theories from different disciplines, as well as to practice a kind of research that can speak to those scholars who are in their own disciplines, but who can themselves then again draw inspiration or use the findings that my research will have also relevance for their research. And in the case that I have presented here today, the research on search and rescue, for example, I have worked together with a colleague who is a legal scholar. Yeah. And we have together produced a piece that is interdisciplinary in nature. In other contexts, I have worked with normative political theorists, with philosophers, such as in the Dilemmas project. And currently, even within my team, I have people who are working from the perspective of sociology, urban studies, or more political geography. So it is a very transdisciplinary research agenda, research focus, and also a transdisciplinary group. And I feel like, in fact, this is one of the most important things that make me so happy to be at the Department for Globalization and Migration here at the Danube University Krems, because the departments in the Danube University Krems are not structured in a way that is disciplinary in nature. We don't have a department for political science or for sociology. We have a department for migration and globalization. So here it's already in the institutional structure, the recognition that this topic should be addressed or can best be addressed from a transdisciplinary perspective. And that makes me particularly happy to have joined this team and this institution. In many ways, in the context of externalizing border controls, we also see the emergence of such practices of creating extraterritorial spaces or externalizing border control in a way that helps to circumvent human rights. In the Mediterranean, this happens in the following way. By enlisting third countries in the enforcement of border control measures, in a way that enables European states to avoid jurisdiction for potential asylum claims that these people might have raised if they had reached territorial waters or the territory of the European Union, and by evading responsibility over human rights abuses. A case in point here is the cooperation with Libya. If they finance, equip, and direct Libyan state actors to intercept migrant boats at sea before they reach European territorial waters and return them to Libya, they cannot be made responsible by any human rights violations that happen during these operations or as a result of these people having been returned to Libya, because it happens outside of their jurisdiction and it's conducted by actors who are not under the direct responsibility, who are not state actors of European countries. How do the rescuers respond to these ethical quandaries? One way in which they deal with this is by attempting not to know. A technique we have called willful ignorance. Not to know where the distress calls come from, not to know the life histories of the people they rescue, not to try to find out whether these are unaccompanied minors or not, where they come from, how did they get there, what relationship they have to smugglers. They seek at all costs to avoid becoming implicated in any kind of immigration or criminal law enforcement, which implies seeking to address all vulnerabilities only from a humanitarian perspective. So we see how both sides are engaged in creating these kind of spaces of exception that allow them to circumvent the application of certainly democratically legitimated norms and policies. For the sake of providing their electorate with simple answers, some political actors on both sides of the spectrum seek to do away with the complexity of these issues, portraying reality as if there were no hard choices to be made. A research agenda that unveils the normative conflicts behind these apparently simple issues can help counter such polarizing discourses, thus contributing to an improved process of democratic deliberation. I think it is a great pleasure and an opportunity to be able to work with students who already have experienced life in many different facets, created their own careers, have engaged with the issues that they're studying in practical terms. There's an enormous richness, a wealth of experiences to be drawn on that makes it so much more interesting and in a way also easier to address these topics in a way that is not just abstract. It's not just about reasoning, but takes into consideration what's the actual reality in the field, and also because people have different experiences, by adding them onto each other, you have then a plural view of the topic. So I think that this is actually an opportunity and a very strong added value of the kind of teaching that takes place here. And I want to conclude by saying that I'm very glad to have found in the Department of Migration and Globalization of the Danube University Krems a home from where I can develop this vision. And I'm very much looking forward to collaborating with my colleagues to devise new projects, plant new seeds, and harvest new fruits from this incipient orchard. Thank you very much for your attention.